Dr. Erica. I am on. It is Wednesday. We made it to Hump Day. When you hop on, just let me know where you're at right now, and we'll start moving from there. Just stick it in the chat. Just let me know where you're at. So I know for a lot of us, it's weird. It's like it takes you back to when you were a little kid, and it used to seem like time went so fast. Like something was always going on. Time was just speeding by, just going and going and going. And then it gets to a point where you're an adult where you actually want time to slow down. So I don't know about a lot of you. I know for me it doesn't feel like Wednesday. It feels like the week just started, and I just feel like I want a little bit more time. Hi, Dr. Hassan. Thanks for joining. But I wanted to make sure I decided to do something special today. So usually around this time of the week, I'm doing just a daily mental wellness tip, but there's been a lot going on. I know some stuff's been on my heart. I know quite a few people that have had a lot of things on their hearts and minds. So I wanted to specifically address it tonight. We're not going to try to go through every single thing and every single solution, but I want to make sure I give you a few strategies and some facts to help you make it through this time. So again, I'm Dr. Erica, double board certified psychiatrist and integrative lifestyle coach. I help women who are disgruntled with life and love redefine and reboot their dreams in order to attract more aligned people and opportunities. I'm coming to you with over 15 years, I said it, 15 years of experience in human behavior. As I said before, I'm double board certified. So I'm a child, adolescent, and adult psychiatrist. I'm also an Amazon bestselling author, but I'm coming to you right now just to help you make it through all of this craziness. And yes, I'm a psychiatrist, and I said craziness with your sanity intact. Hi, Dr. Pamela. Hi, Monisha. Thanks for jumping on. So, couple of quick housekeeping notes. I apologize today. I am so tongue-tied. Is number one, if you feel like anybody needs this, please feel free to share this with them or to tag them. The other thing is, if you are watching this later, please put hashtag replay in the comments. And can you do me a favor? Let me know, is my volume okay? Can you hear me okay? Because sometimes with this mic, sometimes I don't know if it's grown up wise hearing or what. Sometimes my parents will say that they couldn't hear me clearly. So if you can do me a favor, just put in the chat. Let me know if you can hear me. I'm assuming, Monisha, if you're waving, you mean that I sound okay, that you can hear me all right? Okay. So today, what I wanted to talk to you about is 7 things you may not know about trauma. And part of the reason this came up is, I don't know, for a lot of you, I haven't been always on social media. I'm probably on social media a little bit more because I'm off and working on my businesses, but then also there are times where I'll just turn on Netflix and let Netflix run in the background. So I haven't been watching CNN lately. And yesterday, I remember my timeline was flooded. It was absolutely flooded with all of those images of George Floyd. And literally, I don't know about all of y'all, but my heart has just been extremely heavy. It's been heavy for a while, but sometimes you reach a point where it's that one last thing that just gives you just a knot in your chest or a knot in your throat. And that was it for me. That it was tough. I was up late last night. I did go to sleep eventually, but it was just hard settling to go to sleep because there's so much unsettling stuff going on. So I wanted to talk to you about this so that we can talk through some beginning steps of number 1, what's going on, and number 2, what are a few quick high yield things we can all do to start making through this. Okay, so if you're ready, we'll go ahead and get started. So there's been a lot going on, and when a lot of people think of trauma, they think of PTSD, because what do you hear in the news or TV? They talk about PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder. And I want to take a quick moment and look at the history of where that came from, because I think that'll help us frame this conversation. And it came from originally during the Civil War. There was something that they started terming soldier's heart, because they were starting to have some cardiac symptoms. And this over the years then became what we now call PTSD, and they looked at more soldiers. A lot of it had to do a lot with soldiers, which is why people tend to associate PTSD with combat. And they also looked at some boxers and some other things, but a lot of it started with soldiers. So consequently, when a lot of people think of trauma, they think of combat, natural disasters, accidents, assaults, abuse. But trauma can be more than that, and I wanted to talk about that. And I told you before, my timeline was flooded, and please feel free, put in the chat, let me know how you've been feeling, how you've been dealing with all of the stuff that's going on, because between all of everything that's going on with COVID, all the shifts people are dealing with a lot of change, a lot of loss, and now we've had multiple incidents, especially being African American, of people dying at the hands of police in ways that just don't seem like things that should happen here. That you want to think you're safe. You're safe in your neighborhoods, you're safe in your homes, and sometimes that just does not appear to be the case. So I want to go through these seven things and see what we can do. But please let me know how you're doing in the chat. Just stick it in there, put a comment in there, okay? Thank you so much. So the first thing is, what is trauma? So one of the dictionary definitions is that it's a deeply distressing or disturbing experience. And they also use physical injury, because we can say trauma to your muscles or something like that. So from a medical standpoint. Hi Katina, thanks for coming on. So the second one is, so we're at number 2. So the first one is trauma in the dictionary is defined as a deeply distressing or disturbing experience. The interesting thing was, when I started looking through the dictionary, they said all kinds of stuff, and I was really surprised at how focused, when they talked about trauma in dictionaries, is that it had to do a lot with physical things, and for it to get a little deeper, a lot of times you'd have to look up psychological trauma, which is actually interesting to me, that the broader definitions aren't spoken about as much. But it also means that it's a reason why people have a lot of either misunderstandings or underestimation of trauma. And thank you so much. Robert says, thanks for covering this topic. So one of the things that most people don't think about with trauma is trauma can be an exposure. It doesn't always have to be this bodily injury that happened to you. And if we all think back, if we even take a step back from what we're experiencing now, some of the thoughts around it being due to exposure end up coming up around the time of 9/11. If you all think back, remember how many times we just saw the images of either planes going into the towers of the Pentagon or the towers coming down. What I remember is, I remember more about the towers than actually the images that they showed of the Pentagon. But they showed them over and over again, and people were so distressed. And a lot of the ones affected weren't people that were in New York that were there or would have potentially been at the towers but didn't go that day. It's just all of that exposure. So one of the things to keep in mind, hi Danny, is that trauma can be an exposure, and this exposure can happen so many different ways, and especially with media, the way we consume media now. I don't know about you, but how many times have you turned on social media or turned on the news and they just showed something over and over again? Be it, we had the videos came out about Ahmaud Arbery getting shot. There were videos I just couldn't make myself watch the video, but the videos and all the pictures that were out of George Floyd, and the list just goes on and on and on about all of those kinds of things that have been out there. And those exposures can be very unsettling. And one of the things I think that opens us up is, there's a book called you'll hear people in mental health talk about DSM. DSM stands for Diagnostic Statistical Manual. I won't say that multiple times because I don't know if I can say it. I've been tongue-tied all day. is that, and this book gets redone every few years. So we're on DSM-5 now. The one before that was 4TR, text revised or revision. So, and when you look at even in the definition that they have for PTSD, they mention multiple interpretations of trauma, including directly experiencing a traumatic event, witnessing as it has occurred to others, so witnessing an event that's happening to other people, then learning about something traumatic happening to a close member or family friend, or experiencing repeated or extreme exposure to aversive details. And one of the things, and to me, sometimes this stuff needs to be even broader. So that's what's in the clinical criteria for PTSD, but for just experiencing trauma, is that just repeated exposure to seeing things through the media can actually be very emotionally unsettling. And let's see, Robert says CNN seems to do that too much for me. I think I'm trying to admit I have to turn it off. And we're going to get to that. That's a very, very good point. So one of the things is just keeping in mind that trauma can be exposure. It doesn't have to be you being in combat, you being in a natural disaster, you being in an accident, you being abused, you being someone being assaulted. It can be other things. Then number 3. So we've done 2. So number 3 is reacting to trauma isn't a sign of weakness. It making you feel unsettled or having emotional consequences or even behavioral consequences of these things isn't a sign of weakness. It just means you're human. That when some of these bad things happen, it just doesn't feel natural. So what does your body and your mind do when things don't feel natural? It tries to see if there's any way for it to make sense, but sometimes you can't make sense of things that are irrational. So number 4, what are some common symptoms of PTSD? So I'm not going to go through every single one of them because we'll be on here. I'm not doing an hour lecture on post-traumatic stress disorder, but everyone talks about PTSD. So some of the common things is we talk about people have re-experiencing. So they'll have flashbacks. They may have nightmares. People can be hyper aroused, so they can even be irritable, be on edge, be what we call hypervigilant, which is like looking over your shoulder, expecting something bad to happen all the time. People can have what we call depersonalization, where they just don't, they feel almost like they're watching themselves, or they feel very disconnected. People can be very anxious. They can totally shut down. There are just so many symptoms. It's a very, very long list, but the ones you typically hear the most are nightmares, flashbacks, and avoidance. And that brings us to number 5. But can people have reactions or symptoms related to trauma that aren't PTSD? And that's something I thought that was very important to talk about, because the answer to that is definitely yes. A lot of people have what we call trauma reactive behavior, which is just having any kind of behavioral emotional symptom related to trauma. So just because someone has experienced trauma, they can still have some type of consequence of it and not necessarily have PTSD. And there's also something called acute stress disorder, which is what happens when it's more immediate to the event. And PTSD, you have to have symptoms for about a month. So the other thing is to know that you don't have to have full-fledged PTSD. Sometimes people have reactions to trauma or emotional feelings from trauma that aren't PTSD. So, and it's one thing that I actually, as a psychiatrist, especially working with kids, I dealt with a lot, that there are a lot of times these kids didn't meet all of the criteria for PTSD, but they still were having issues with trauma. And one of the reasons I bring this up right now is that everyone's just dealing with the fact that in a lot of a lot of ways the world doesn't feel safe, because either people are concerned that when they go out of their house, there's a risk of getting COVID. Also, for a lot of people of color, there are concerns that if they go out of their house, will they get assaulted or shot? People that have loved ones that are black males may experience moments where they're afraid every time their loved one, their husband, their spouse, their boyfriend, their son, their brother, their cousin goes out, of whether or not something's going to happen to them and they're not going to come home simply because they were black. And those things can cause people to be on edge, have all kinds of symptoms. From, have you ever been really nervous and your stomach started hurting, or you got a headache? Well, that can happen. It can affect sleep, appetite. People can either be tired, or they can end up being hyper aroused and just kind of buzzing around and shaking and can't quite sit still. There are just so many things that can happen, but I want people to know that and keep an eye out that you don't have to have full PTSD to have some type of effect from trauma. The next thing, we're about to switch into what are some things you can do. So the first 5 were kind of facts. I can't call them fun facts because they're not fun. But the first 5 were facts. So the last ones we're going to do is number 6 is decrease the triggers. So that may mean, as Robert had brought up, that he decreases how much he watches CNN. It can mean decreasing TV. It can mean decreasing social media. And this works for all of these deaths going on. It also deals with some of the stuff dealing with COVID. Is sometimes you just have to turn the volume down. You need to decrease the triggers by controlling your environment. This may mean, if they're really negative people, you may not need to talk to them right now. But it's just decreasing those triggers, so identifying what those triggers are for you that make you feel more on edge and finding ways to decrease them. But probably the 2 easiest ones is decreasing TV and social media. Number 7 is sometimes you just have to take it one step at a time. You just have to move through each day and each hour, 1 hour at a time, or 1 day at a time. Because I know right now there are just a lot of people whose, heart hurts. There are a lot of people that have dealt with a lot of loss, between all the loss of people having loved ones and people they care about pass away from COVID when they couldn't actually be with them. And those kinds of losses can be traumatic to the people that are working on the front lines, as healthcare or even roles that support healthcare, that just are putting people in a place where they're interfacing with all of this pain and suffering and death. Then you start moving over to just the struggles of just the emotional weight of being black in America right now is traumatic. It's tough, and I will, here I will tell you that sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you have to find creative ways so that you can still move forward, because it's very easy when these deaths come up, and the hard thing is that they're happening so often, is you have to find a way to still function, because even though your heart is heavy, you may not even feel safe. You may not feel that your family is safe, that there are some tasks that just don't stop. Adulting doesn't stop because there are people that are racist. It doesn't stop because there are people that are murderers. It doesn't stop because there is a pandemic. We still all have to pay bills. We have to take care of our families, and we have to somehow take care of our bodies and our health. So it's important to slow down and just take things one step at a time. The bonus one, which is number 8, is get help. Get help can be numerous forms depending on what's going on with you. Get help could be something as simple as calling a good friend or family member that you can talk to about your feelings. For some people, that's going to be enough to get them through. The next get help can also be something as simple as calling a member of your church or clergy. That may be enough for some people. Now, there are some people that the stress of all of this trauma, grief, and loss is going to be so much they feel like they can't function, or that they just can't pull it together. So get help can also be contacting a psychiatrist or a therapist to just get some additional support, because sometimes we can't do it all on our own. And one of the things I see so often as a psychiatrist and just experiencing this human experience is that there are a lot of people that have experienced so many kinds of trauma, have attempted to deal with them all on their own, and all of that stuff keeps coming up over and over and over and over again in their life. And until it's actually really dealt with, it just haunts them constantly. It impacts their decisions. It impacts their relationship. It impacts their ability to effectively do work. It impacts their ability to take care of their family. So one of the things I want to encourage people is, if you have experienced trauma and it seems like it just keeps coming back, get some help, because this happens not only for dealing with the difficulties of being Black in America, or the difficulties of dealing with COVID, the challenges of being on the front lines and seeing death, that it also happens for, the scary thing, and Dr. Lakeisha's on, I know she knows, being an OBGYN, of how many women have been sexually assaulted. It's amazing. Most of the women have probably been sexually assaulted. And it's heartbreaking and it's sad, but it's a freaking fact of life. And there are so many people that trauma hasn't been treated, and it keeps coming up in all of these dysfunctional relationships. So, that's one of the reasons I want to encourage people that no matter what the trauma is, that if it's not something that you were able to push through, and it's okay, a lot of this stuff wasn't meant for people to push through on their own. But if you weren't, or if you notice it just keeps affecting you, go ahead and get some help. There's no reason for you to either suffer in silence or to be struggling unnecessarily when there's something that can help you. It's kind of like if someone has diabetes and all they need to do is go to the doctor, and it's not to the point where they need insulin, but if all they needed to go there, had their blood sugars checked regularly, be put on the right diet, monitored it, and coached through it, and they'd be fine. And then they don't go. And they have diabetes. And their blood sugar keeps being high. And since their blood sugar is high, then all of a sudden they start having these other health issues. And then eventually they have amputations and stuff, and they're blind. And it was something that could have been solved by seeing someone early. And what I don't want to see happen is that people are going through all of these traumas, dealing with all of this pressure, and you end up sitting in it like a pressure cooker when you didn't have to sit in a pressure cooker, when you could have released the pressure on the valve eons ago and been able to embrace your gifts, embrace life, and to live the life that God put out there for you, that He wants you to live. And I just don't want people to be held back from doing that. So that goes for any kind of trauma. If just dealing with all of this racism, and it gets to the point where you can't function because you're either afraid of being out or you're constantly afraid for your loved ones to be out, then you probably can use a little assistance too. And that doesn't mean you got to get drugged up. Just sometimes people need some professional help. So I want to do a quick review, and then we're going to wrap up, because I know I've had you on here for a little while. So what we're talking about today is seven things you may not know about trauma. And what I need everyone to do is tag anyone that you think needs this, share it with anybody that you think needs this. And then the last thing is, if you're watching this later, please hit #replay. We're going to go through those 7 and that one bonus real quick. Number 1, what is trauma? Trauma is a deeply distressing or disturbing experience. The myth about it is that even when you start looking through the dictionary, a lot of it focuses on physical trauma, physical things. And in truth, there are a lot of issues with exposure. So number 2 is trauma can be an exposure. They even look at exposures in the DSM-5's definition of PTSD when they're starting to define it. And there's so many exposures a lot of us are seeing, and it's not a situation where a lot of times people always thought of wars and combat and accidents and assaults, is that people are just having so many different types of exposure. So even in DSM, in the introduction to PTSD, they talk about directly experiencing events, witnessing a traumatic event happen to someone else, learning that something traumatic happened to a loved one or close friend, and then experiencing repeated or extreme exposure to adverse details. Dry throat, not COVID cough, dry throat. And what we're dealing with right now is just so much exposure between social media, TV, conversations, just exposure everywhere. And then when you start looking at, even from the COVID side, all the people that are front line, including even police, EMTs, even you have nurses, doctors, respiratory techs, NPs, PAs, the secretary, unit secretaries, the cleaning staff, the people down in the mortuary, everybody, they're just dealing with so much exposure, loss, and death that there's just so much exposure and direct experience right now. And number 3 is that reacting to trauma is not a weakness. Number 4 is that some common symptoms of PTSD are nightmares, flashbacks, being hypervigilant, feeling like you're looking over your shoulder all the time, irritability, anxiety, difficulty connecting, just feeling like either you're watching yourself or just disconnected. And then if you want, let me know if you want to go into it in more depth. We will. I just don't want to keep you here all night doing literally a lecture. And hi, Uncle James. The next one is that, and we're on number 5, is that symptoms of trauma don't have to just be PTSD. PTSD is kind of like the mothership. PTSD is the top of the trauma behavior or trauma experience, trauma emotional mountain. So PTSD is up here, but there's still other things. So just from a diagnostic standpoint, there's still acute stress disorder that's under that. And then you can have people that just have other things going on and they don't meet criteria for PTSD or acute stress disorder or an adjustment disorder, that just have what we call trauma reactive behavior, or have symptoms for the trauma, but just don't have a mother load of symptoms. But as we see, you cannot have a mother load of symptoms and still be affected. So you could not be sleeping, having headaches and stomach aches, and just feel out of sorts. That can significantly affect you, but you won't meet criteria for PTSD. And there are a lot of people that are just feeling so uneasy right now. Like, this is a time where there's so much unease. And speaking as someone that's Black in America, is right now we've had so many deaths. And I can say for myself, I don't know for everyone, but it's like this last couple ones just kind of, feel like it's pushed you over the edge a little bit. Does anybody else feel pushed over the edge a little bit? Let me know if I'm alone. Do you feel like this last bit pushed you a little over the edge? And stuff with George Floyd just was like just pushing over the edge. But I want you to know that you don't have to have PTSD for trauma to have affected you. The next thing is when we start transitioning into a few things you can do. Number 6 is decrease your triggers. If you're seeing too much on social media, it's too many pictures, too many conversations, too many videos, decrease social media or change who you're following. The other thing is if it's too much stuff on the news, you need to decrease your TV watching. But some of it's just decreasing the triggers so that you can just get caught up. Number 7 is you have to take things one step at a time, one day at a time, sometimes 1 hour at a time, sometimes 1 minute at a time, just to get through. I know my heart's been very heavy. I know a lot of people whose hearts have been heavy between dealing with everything with COVID as a healthcare worker and then also being Black. This is just a rough time in America. It's a rough time. And sometimes you just have to take it one step at a time. The bonus was sometimes you got to get help. Get help can be, depending on the level of what's going on with you, that could be calling a friend or a family member to talk to. It could be talking to the clergy or someone at church. Those are kind of lower levels. But if it gets to the point where it just feels like it's just too much and you just can't function, or you're just starting to feel hopeless and just like utter crap, or you realize you can't get through stuff, or you're just so scared you either won't leave the house, or you don't want anyone you love to leave the house, or you realize you just can't breathe when your husband or your brother or your son or your boyfriend, your dad or anybody leaves the house, then you might need a little bit of help. And it's okay. You can reach out to a psychiatrist or a therapist, and that's what we're here for. We're here to help people get over the hump. And what we were talking about earlier is there's no reason to suffer endlessly where you could get some help and feel better much quicker. There's no reason to turn this into months, years, possibly, of a traumatic experience versus getting some help. So, what are some quick steps you could do? So, we already talked about in the list, it was decrease your triggers, take it one step at a time, get help. I'm going to do some very quick ones, and we're going to run them off at like bullets because I've had you here for a while. And one is give yourself some grace. There is a whole lot going on right now. There's a whole lot. Did I say a whole lot? Like a whole lot. It's just so much between. There's so much loss that at this point, I don't know anybody that hasn't known at least one person that has been extremely sick or died from COVID. There is so much fear about uncertainty for the future. People that are going into environments with known exposures. There's just so much going on. Right now, there are a lot of people that don't feel safe because people are literally getting murdered for the color of their skin. There's just so much going on right now that you have to give yourself some grace if you just don't feel 100% okay. This isn't a time that feels normal. It's not necessarily a time where everyone's going to feel okay. And sometimes the expectation of okay might just be a little pushing it. So give yourself some grace. The second one is related to one we said earlier, decrease news or social media as necessary. The next is exercise. It is, and these were, I just want to give you 3 quick things that you can do quickly. The upside about exercising is not only does it help your physical health, but it helps take some of that emotional pressure off. That it's a natural way that helps get some of that emotional volume down, because right now with everything going on, a lot of people's emotional volume is turned up. So by exercising, that helps get out some of those emotions. I don't know if it's just me. Has anybody lately found themselves exercising? Like, I'll ride my Peloton. I know the instructors are so emotional. You just find yourself freaking crying on a bike. I don't know, people cry when they run. I remember I was in bar class once and was crying while I was watching a bar. But it's a time that sometimes it will help take and deal with some of that emotion. It may not fix all the emotion. It may not make it all go away. But a lot of times exercise can be something that can take the edge off. So, and that doesn't mean you have to go outside and run a marathon. It doesn't mean that you need to ride 3 hours on Peloton. For some people, that exercise may even be yoga, but some type of physical activity can be really helpful. So I want to say thanks for spending your time with me tonight. I know it's been a while. We've been on for a little while. Thanks for taking time out of your busy life to spend with me. I think we're all just going to be working on getting through all of this one day at a time, because it is so much going on. And to be honest, I'm glad I told my dad to stay in the house, because I don't want to worry about him when he goes out of the house. I'm worried if something's going to happen to him. But, I think the difficulty right now of what a lot of us are dealing with is the fears and anxiety that are going on are related to reality. They're related to actual factual events that are happening, that those experiences are making people rightfully concerned. So it's going to be a project to get through this together in a way that we can be healthy and still live full lives and not live a life of fear, because when you're fear, you're paralyzed, you're stuck, and that doesn't get you anywhere. And if if we take a page out of Marianne Williamson, is that God is love, fear is the opposite. So if we can live in love, then hopefully that will decrease our fear. So that's what I got for you tonight. That's what I got. So you can find me. I have my new telepsychiatry practice. It is all adult. It is a low acuity practice. That means that since it is all telepsychiatry, there's some things that people are sick enough that they need to be able to see someone in person, because they may be in crisis more often. So it's not designed for that, but it's designed to help people, just not necessarily someone that was having a lot of problems with suicide would probably need to see someone in person. So I am an adult psychiatrist. I am licensed in Georgia, Tennessee, Pennsylvania, Missouri, Massachusetts, California, Texas, and probably someplace I'm forgetting. But if you are interested, go to goodwintelepsych.com. That is goodwintelepsych.com. I'll be there to help you get through whatever is going on. The great thing about it is it's all mine. I can do it just the way I want, which means I can give you the full service that I would want any family of mine to get. So that's at goodwintelepsych.com. I have something special coming up for you tomorrow. My wellness coach, who is a certified nutrition and strength coach, Coach B. Moore, will be on tomorrow at 7 for my wellness chat. And we're going to talk about 5 hacks to better health. You don't want to miss it, because he has a way of drilling down things to some simple principles that are extremely high yield in so many areas of your life. And I want to make sure I share them with y'all. And you get them for free. I pay him. And then on Friday, I'll be back at 7 for our mental wellness check-in. So I just want to say thank you so much for coming. Again, this is Dr. Erica, double board certified psychiatrist and integrative lifestyle coach. I help women who are disgruntled with life and love redefine and reboot their dreams in order to attract more aligned people and opportunities. I'm here with over 15 years of experience in human behavior, and I'm here to help you get through all of this with your sanity intact. I help people I have my book that we don't talk about quite as much because there's so much going on, but I'll put the link in there. It's called Fix Your Fairy Tale, A Woman's Guide to a Great Life, Love, and Legacy. And also through my telepsychiatry practice, helping people live the life that they deserve, that God deserved. I can't get this in. That they deserve, that God meant for them to have. That's what I was trying to say. So again, thanks again for spending time with me. I want to send a lot of virtual love, virtual hugs out to you. Have a great night.